there we are.
Really good.
Acceleration a little faster than 60 miles per hour with the Colorado. We're in the Z71 trim level. And of course, as we had mentioned earlier in the video, you do have those 3 different power outputs for a 2.7 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Now that top output is going to be reserved for the ZR2, which we're not testing out today, but we do have the middle option, what they call the 2.7 Plus.
Yep.
And with this model, we have 310
horsepower. 310 horsepower, 390 pound-feet of torque. So it's a pretty significant boost over what you get with the standard setup. That's 237 horsepower, so it's about 80 some horsepower boosted over that, and the torque is very significantly boosted as well. You really feel that nearly 400 pound-feet of torque when you get behind the wheel of this Colorado. It's definitely enough to really push you back in your seat and accelerate this mid-sized truck. I mean, it's not super small, up to 60 miles an hour very quickly. Now, we do apologize a little bit for the audio. It might be a little bit loud in the background because it's pouring down rain in beautiful and sunny California. This has been an interesting trip to San Diego. It's been pouring rain the entire time, and it's only about 42 degrees. So
yeah, that torque just feels absolutely fantastic. Honestly, even if you had the previous model with the diesel engine, you're not going to notice that big of a difference. I mean, this turbo really makes a lot of torque, and it makes it down low. It's almost diesel-like. You really just barely get on it, and you always have that torque just ready to go. Speaking of that, transmission. 8-speed automatic transmission. All the versions do have the same transmission. It's a nice partner with this engine. It's ready to go. You put your foot down, you get that downshift really nice and quick. It's also very smooth.
yeah.
Definitely a notable improvement over the main competition. I'm thinking about the Tacoma with the 6-speed automatic. Definitely better than that.
Yeah, and as far as how the power is put to the ground, you do have 2-wheel drive as an option, but it's only going to be an option for your lower end trim levels. The WT and the LT can get 2-wheel drive. If you opt for the Z71, like we have today, or the Trail Boss, those do come standard with 4-wheel drive. And unfortunately, Chevy does not have any official EPA estimated fuel economy for this new Colorado. That will come out later. We are on a pretty early press program where we're driving this car before it's available for sale, so they don't quite have those numbers just yet, but we do expect them to become available in the next month or so, and we'll add them to the video description. And we haven't mentioned up until this point, but Chevy was quick to point out, and we even noticed on our very first drive of this Colorado, that they have tuned this 4-cylinder to actually have a very nice, meaty tone to it. So it doesn't, you know, if you're worried coming from a previous V6 Colorado or a diesel version, you're worried it's not going to sound like a truck. I think those are pretty unfounded claims, because I do like the noise that I'm hearing from this turbo 4-cylinder.
Right, this engine has been available for a few years in the Silverado, but this is kind of like the next generation form of it in essence, and one of the things they did do was improve that sound, and I can definitely tell that.
Let's get a sound level reading. .4 was our official Car Confections sound level reading. This is something that we like to do in every car that we review, so we can compare just the noise level entering into the cabin to some of its rivals, and that is a very good reading for a mid-sized truck, and we've had that repeated throughout all the different trim levels that we've driven today. I think one was tested at 55 decibels, so certainly this Colorado actually has a very quiet cabin, and it's incredibly windy outside. There's water on the road because it's raining. This is not what I would call ideal conditions, and 57 decibels is a very good reading.
Yeah, mid-sized trucks tend to be a little on the louder side of things. And like Mason was saying, there's some trim level variations that you might expect depending on the type of tire that's on certain trim levels, but overall, this is going to be one of your quieter options in the midsize segment, at least what we're seeing right now with our testing here in California.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to talk about is your ride quality, because we're sitting here in the Z71, which is kind of your off-road capable but also more luxurious minded option. So this Z71, I've been very impressed with the ride quality so far. If you hit a bump, it really does a good job of soaking it up. The seats are very comfortable, and that kind of mixed with the quiet cabin makes it feel like a lot more premium of an experience than a lot of midsize trucks do.
Yeah, definitely a big improvement over the previous generation in that regard, just kind of a little bit more mature. Of course, it still does feel like a truck because it is a truck, and I think that's what a lot of people do still want, that traditional feel. So, you know, don't take this into thinking that it's turned into like a Ridgeline or anything like that. It's not that level of comfort, but it is still very comfortable for that traditional truck feeling midsize truck. Now, obviously, handling is not a big part of, you know, the development of this truck, but actually not too bad. We just happen to be on a pretty windy road here in California, and honestly, you know, you feel pretty confident behind the wheel. Mason had commented on this earlier. The steering actually has a nice heft to it. It's a pleasant heft, gives you kind of a nice confidence, and body control is pretty decent. You know, even though you're pretty high up, it doesn't feel like you're just going wallowing around. You know, even on these roads going pretty fast, you don't feel like wanting to puke like you do sometimes in trucks.
And believe you, we took the curviest road possible today to do our off-roading. If you had, you know, motion sickness, you would have been very sick. But it handled it really well. So certainly something worth noting with this new Colorado. But guys, let's go ahead and hop into our other signature element, our slam dunk and airball. Now, with this new Colorado, there are a lot of things to really like about it. I think my favorite element, though, has got to be just the variety of options and trim levels that you can get, all at differing price points, but all of which are pretty well equipped. You know, if you go for a base work truck, you can have all the technology of something like the Z71, but Chevy is proud to point out that there are 4 trims for under $40,000, so you can actually, you know, not just pick the work truck if you need something relatively affordable. You could pick, you know, the LT, you could pick the Trail Boss, or you could pick the Z71, and they're all going to be under $40,000, which I think is a pretty darn good value for this segment.
Yeah, it's basically a mix and match between your trim levels and the features that you want, plus you also have the customizability of various accessories as well. Now for the airball, we will say one of the things we pointed out during the review. Most vehicles, like the vast majority, when it goes to a new generation, they tend to be growing larger and larger and larger, but the legroom actually is smaller on this Colorado for whatever reason, a little smaller than the previous gen, and it is tight back there, even for two guys that really aren't that tall at all by
two short
standards.
Kings back here. It's not big. Like I literally, I got stuck trying to get that GoPro up on the roof. Like you literally, I got stuck. I was like, Drew, you have to come save me, because these seats aren't even, you know, adjusted like all the way back, and it's still pretty tight back there. And wrapping up this review, I do want to talk about your warranty. If you choose to buy one of these Colorados, it's going to be Chevy's signature warranty, 3-year, 36,000-mile basic warranty, 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain warranty, and your complimentary visit, or your first visit is complimentary. So that's, you know, a little bit of a nice thing that Chevy throws in when you buy one of these.
What's going on YouTube? The midsize truck market is really starting to heat up, and today we're with one of the most important new products, the all-new Chevy Colorado.
And we want to know, does this Colorado have what it takes to go against the Toyota Tacoma?
Let's go ahead and find out.